Good afternoon and welcome to today's information session on the FY 2021 DC Local Equity Access and Preservation Fund DC LEAP information session. My name is Stephanie Thomas and I am the Director for Great Streets and Retail, serving in the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development. I'm super glad that you've come to join us today. Today, our information session will address the FY 2021 DC Locally Made Manufacturing Grant. They will do an overview of the grant, some of the requirements for the application, and I'll respond to any questions after. The FY 2021 DC Local Equity Access and Preservation Fund Locally Made Manufacturing Grant incentivizes and bolsters the Great Streets Initiative to grow the district's local small business economy and bolster neighborhoods with inadequate access to retail opportunities. The purpose of the Great Streets Initiative is to transform certain designated emerging commercial corridors into thriving, walkable, shoppable, and inviting neighborhood experiences. DEMPED invests in 13 legislatively prescribed retail priority areas, otherwise known as Great Street corridors, with the goal of creating these livable, walkable, shoppable, community-serving retail experiences across all 8 wards. And the Great Streets Initiative does this by supporting existing businesses, attracting new businesses, increasing the district's tax base, and creating new job opportunities for district residents. Under the DC Locally Made Manufacturing Grant, DEMPED will award up to $1 million in grants. Please note the Notice of Funding Availability released on January 29, 2021, and the request for applications to RFA opened up on February 12, 2021, and will close March 15, 2021 at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information, you can certainly go to www.demped.dc.gov. www.dmped.dc.gov. So we're super excited about this program because the intention of DC Locally Made is to incentivize the development of single-tenant buildings that can accommodate small manufacturing concerns, or a multi-tenant building that can provide accommodations for manufacturers, post-incubators, and or emerging growth companies engaged in consumer goods and or some durable good production. DEMPED recognizes that manufacturing supply chains have become complicated due to multiple suppliers and challenging international trade and import and export regulations, and the rapid acceleration of e-commerce demand and absorption, and the exacerbation of COVID-19 as a global pandemic and public health emergency has certainly made this a time for supporting and investing in our manufacturing industry. Supply chains were disrupted and in some cases disturbed. There is an increasing need to manufacture and procure consumer goods locally, and we believe the industrial sector can and will flourish in the district. We can increase employment opportunities for local residents and offer light manufacturing opportunities that provide economic stability, that mitigate blight, and add vibrancy to our designated Great Street corridors. In terms of our funding priorities, the grant identified the following. First, the Great Streets program, and making sure that we have proper alignment with that initiative, and to seek to invest in small businesses that are local business enterprise eligible, that's LBE eligible, and that means that this business has a principal office that is physically located in the District of Columbia. 2, it meets one of the following standards, which is it's either independently owned, operated, or controlled, or owned, operated, and controlled by a district enterprise, or owned by non-district-based district-based enterprise that is more than 50% owned by district residents. So it's just one of those standards, owned by DC residents owned by a district enterprise or owned by a non-district based enterprise that has more than 50% owned district residents, ownership of more than 50% district residents. The third element is that the chief executive officer and the highest level managerial employees of the business must perform managerial functions at the principal office that's located in the District of Columbia. And you also, four, have to meet one of the following standards: that either more than 50% of your employees of the business are residents of the district, that more than 50% of the owners of the business enterprise are district residents, or more than 50% of the assets of the business, and this excludes bank accounts, are in the district, or more than 50% of your gross receipts are district gross receipts. You have to have core operations that align with, so moving back to the funding priorities, you need to have core operations that align with small and medium light manufacturing or fast consumer goods, so dry goods, processed food, beverages, baby food, consumer electronics, frozen food, or consumer durables, so like appliances, furniture, equipment, and that you currently operate or will operate within a designated Great Street corridor. You have to maintain and or create new jobs with a commitment to hire district residents. That you will also serve or may serve a community as a community anchor, and that impacts the Great Street corridor and the community by its presence. And finally, if you can support existing retailers and the designated Great Street corridor's economic vitality by attracting new customers and visitors to that area. So what is Great Street corridor? Well, there are 13 legislatively prescribed corridors: Connecticut Avenue, Georgia Avenue, H Street, Bladensburg, Martin Luther King Jr. South Capitol Street, Minnesota Avenue, Benning, Manning Helen Burroughs Avenue, New York Avenue, North Capitol Street, Pennsylvania Avenue, and let me go back, North Capitol Street, Northwest Northeast, South Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast, Rhode Island Avenue Northeast, Wisconsin Avenue Northwest, 7th Street Northwest, and 14th and U Street, which includes Adams Morgan, Mount Pleasant, and Columbia Heights. For the purposes of this RFA, consumer goods is defined as goods that are immediately consumed in one use or have a lifespan of less than 3 years. Examples include cosmetics, cleaning products, foods, fuel, beer and spirits, some household items, paper products, rubber, textiles, clothing, footwear, and personal protective equipment. Durable goods, for the purposes of this RFA, is defined as home appliances, consumer electronics, furniture, sports equipment, and children's toys. So, a responsive proposal should provide a strategy whereby an entity or entities of the locally made would promote development and or improvement of a shell building up to 60,000 square feet in the district. An eligible shell building project can include the redevelopment and or improvement of an existing structure pending the building can be cost effectively delivered for industrial use. The DC Locally Made grant will support qualified small businesses for the capital or tenant improvements of the commercial property that is absolutely within a designated industrial use and located is designated for industrial use and which is located within a designated Great Streets corridor. Any building that is developed or improved because of this program should be fully completed for use by an industrial tenant and or owner occupant within 60 days following the completion of the approved improvement. Eligible applicants. The eligible applicants, you've heard a little bit of me sharing, includes real estate developers and or existing small businesses whose core business aligns with light manufacturing and is located either within or plans to move to a Great Street corridor. And you can find where those corridors are. We will share the presentation, but also you can go to greatstreets.dc.gov and click on map, and you will find the corridor map, or you can enter the address and find if your location for your proposed project is within a Great Street corridor. And of course, any projects that are outside of the Great Street Corridor will not be considered. Now, for funding, DC locally made grant may be used for exterior and or interior improvements, including the purchase of furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And that is up to 60% of the grant. Couple of minimum requirements. So again, have to be located in the Great Street Corridor. We have to stress this. You must be licensed, be a licensed business in good standing with the DC Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs, so that's DCRA, the Office of Tax and Revenue, that's OTR, the Department of Employment Services, that's DOES, and the Internal Revenue Service, that's the IRS. And you must maintain your good standing status with the aforementioned entities throughout the pre-award process in the grant period of performance. You have to retain site control of the business property through fee simple ownership, a letter of intent, or an executed contract with a lease of the property owner with a minimum unexpired time of at least 5 years. And applicants who lease their business property will be required to submit a notarized affidavit from their landlord authorizing the proposed improvement project. Also, you need to provide proof of the property and liability insurance, and of course, an insurance code is permitted for new businesses that is compliant with the requirements that were set forth in the RFA in Section 28. Okay, Section 18. My apologies. So let's talk a little bit about ineligible applicants and ineligible fund use. We've listed out the ineligible applicants, so adult entertainment, auto body repair, banks, bar, nightclub, construction, general, contracting, architecture, design, build, e-commerce, financial services, home-based businesses, hotel, liquor store, phone store, professional services, property management, realtors, seasonal businesses, meaning you're only open part of the year, and any previously awarded businesses that are expanding in existing operations or relocating to another location are not eligible. So pre-existing as in those who have received Great Street funding or H Street funding in excess of $150,000. Also, it is ineligible fund use is that debt, expenses associated with preparing the application, inventory, legal fees, marketing, payroll, rent, all expenses not any expenses that's not listed above as eligible is ineligible. So we can talk a little bit about the scoring criteria. Applications will be evaluated based on the following criteria outlined below. Failure to demonstrate how the proposed project meets the criteria may reduce the application score. Content form and application submission. Content requirements. The application must provide sufficient information for the agency to make determination of merit of the proposal. Complete applications should include the element for each section to be eligible for the maximum consideration. Applications that fail to include all the necessary elements may not be reviewed or considered and may be disqualified. Scoring criteria. The criteria used to evaluate the submission will include but not limited to I'm sorry, 1 second, please. I'm sorry, my apologies. Okay, thank you. So, revisiting the scoring criteria, the criteria used to evaluate the submission will include but not be limited to the quality and functionality of the proposed project, the sufficiency of the major participants' experience of the individuals or the firm. So that's important. We certainly want to know what the economic development impact of the proposed project is, the strength of the financial proposal, location of the proposed site and level of site control established, the project's readiness, the level of risk to the partnership and or individual entity that's participating, the ability to scale the relationship to additional projects, and the return on investment timeline. In terms of the application overview, DEMPED is requesting that applications contain the following sections in PDF format to respond to this RFA. Applications should be prepared on 8.5 by 11-inch paper format using 11 or 12-point font in Arial, Calibri, or Times New Roman, and submitted electronically to DEMPED through Gift Online. The application includes only the requested information below. First, you have to have a cover page with the contact information for the applicant, the business name, key contact, mailing address, telephone, and email. The narrative for the FY21 DC Locally Made Manufacturing Grant, and then the attachments that we'll talk through. In terms of the narrative, it is the executive summary, which is 10%, the market and financial feasibility of the project, which is worth 30%, major participants' identities and details, which is 20%, the proposed job creation and economic benefits, which is 20%, the certified business enterprise commitment, which is 20%, and a statement regarding debarment, suspension, bankruptcy, or loan default. This is a mandatory inclusion. It is not scored. You are to refer to the request for application for details and guidance on each one of these sections. You will also include in your application several appendices and attachments. There is a arrest and conviction statement, the statement of certification, the certificate of insurance, and debarment affidavit. Those are your appendices A, B, C, and D. Your attachments are attachment A, basic business license, attachment B, your certificate of good standing that's issued between January 1st, 2021 and March 15th, 2021. Your good standing certificate must be issued within this time parameter. You are to issue your clean hands certificate, your evidence of site control, which is attachment D, the landlord affidavit, if applicable. If you do not own it, the property, then you do need to have the landlord complete a landlord affidavit that must be notarized. And we certainly encourage you to get started on that process sooner rather than later. Attachment F is your business tax returns for the past 3 years. Attachment G is your annual financial statements for the past 3 years. Attachment H is your job creation chart. Attachment I is your development pro forma financial statement. Your attachment J is sources and uses. Attachment K is your project budget. Attachment L is your majority participant's resume. And your attachment M is a picture of the proposed project. In terms of the application review, there's 3 stages. There's an initial screening that occurs. It's an administrative screening, an administrative screening that ensures that all the required forms, signatures, and documents are present. And an application will not be evaluated by a review panel if the application is received after the closing date, the application package is not complete, the project synopsis description fails to address the program priorities, and the application doesn't fit within the scope of the RFA. Then it moves on to an independent review panel that will submit its scoring, ranking, and comments to DEMPED. And there is also a final review that will have the external and internal, which is the program team, recommendation, and aligned with the mayor's budget priorities, the resources available, the goals of achieving balance as the community served, and the goals of the program, DEMPED will make the final funding decision. The final funding decision cannot be contested or appealed. If there are any questions about this grant, they should be directed to the grants team at demped.grants@dc.gov. As I am the program director and this grant is under my purview, I'm only permitted to answer certain questions that's related to this information session. And of course, that can be directed to the RFA. And in the event that you have a question that's more specific, then that question should be directed to demped.grants@dc.gov, and the grant manager and or her designee will be the one to respond back to you. Finally, in order to contact me, my name is Stephanie Thomas. Again, I'm the Director of Great Streets and Retail, serving very proudly in the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development. You can email us at the program email address at greatstreets@dc.gov. That is greatstreets@dc.gov. And we'll respond as promptly as possible. So at this point, for those of you who have joined and remained, I will open the floor up for questions. Okay. All right. So I do see that I have one person who's here. Is it Mari? Now you may need to unmute yourself. I'm sorry. There you. I'm going to actually unmute you again. I'm sorry. I was trying to help. Try to unmute one more time.
Hello?
There we go. Hi.
Okay. Hi. So I actually just joined the meeting. I actually missed the presentation. I'm really sorry. But I really,
Okay.
it's being recorded. Will I be able to view it? Okay, wonderful.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, and I did, I'm sorry, go on.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was going to say the recording will be up on the website by Friday.
Okay, wonderful. And is there so what I'm concerned about is that we were not eligible for the Great Street in the past because of our revenue. Is revenue is it a factor in the application for some of these grants as well?
So that's a great question. And no, the $1 million average revenue over the past 3 years, historical or projected, is not a requirement of the locally made manufacturing.
Great, thank you. That's very helpful. That was actually my big question. So.
Okay. Well, certainly, if you have any questions, again, demped.grants@dc.gov, and they certainly will respond to you. And if they are not sure of the answer, they always just come back and ask me. So make sure that you have the most accurate information. And we are hopeful, I'm hopeful that the RFA is pretty clear on what we're looking for the responses to the narrative and the documentation that goes along with it.
Okay, yeah, I haven't had a chance to review it, but I did look over the list of items that are necessary, and they seem pretty consistent with past Great Street grants requirements. So we're good to go.
Oh yeah, that's perfectly fine. And you know, as I was saying at the beginning of the presentation, this locally made DC locally made manufacturing grant is supported through Great Street funds. So that's why there are additional criteria about the location, as those dollars have to be placed in retail priority areas, legislatively prescribed retail priority areas. So we're excited about it. I'm excited about it. I think it'll be a really great investment in our small business community and in our corridor. So
I think so too. We're located off of one of the new Great Street areas, off of one of the new main streets. So for us, it's very exciting because in the past we've not been eligible. So I'm with DC Brow Brewing Company, and so for us, it's
okay.
We're brand new.
Are you in Bladensburg?
Yes, we're on the historic Bladensburg Road, Main Street. So
yes,
yeah.
I know exactly where you guys are. Well, wonderful. I'm glad you're interested. Again, if you have any questions, you can absolutely feel free. I anticipate that the recordings and the presentation deck will be up tomorrow. We have 2 sessions tomorrow, one for Neighborhood Prosperity Fund in the morning and then another locally made in the afternoon. So after those 2 sessions are done, then the recordings will go.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I popped on to talk to you. I feel so special.
Well, I'm excited that you're able to make it. So, and if you apply, good luck. And yeah, that's what I have.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye bye.